My one eternal hope for Pokemon that will always be there until it happens, no matter how unlikely it may be, is for another game with multiple explorable regions like Pokemon Gold and Silver. That is the primary reason why Gold and Silver and their remakes were my favorite Pokemon games for basically my entire life until Pokemon Legends Arceus came around. And honestly, it wasn't even really a challenge, because that feature made those games just that good. And with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet now coming out later this year, I wanted to put on my tinfoil conspiracy theory hat and talk about how these games could finally be the games where we see that feature return, and have Kalos introduced into this game as a second explorable region. Let's check it out. When it comes to being a Pokemon fan, you find out fairly quickly that Japan gets some of the best products and merch that don't make their way to the rest of the world. This can make getting your hands on this stuff not only more difficult, but also more expensive, and that's where today's sponsor, Buyee, comes in. Buyee streamlines the process of buying Japanese exclusive products and makes the process easier and more affordable. Buyee allows you to order directly from Japanese sites like Amazon Japan, Rakuten, Mercari, and even auction sites like Yahoo Japan Auction, and purchases the item on your behalf, and from there sends it directly to you, handling all of the steps in between that can be tricky for many of us who don't live in Japan or speak Japanese. So if you'd like to get your hands on some awesome Japanese exclusive products for a more affordable price, you can sign up for Buyee with the link in my description, and when you do, you're also going to get a coupon for 2,000 yen off your first purchase, which is about $16 US. Be sure to check that out if you're interested, and pick yourself up something nice. And a big thank you to Buyee for supporting the channel and making videos like this possible. Alright, so first off, some disclaimers are in order, because I know there's people out there who are probably gonna hate on me for even bringing this up at all, but at the end of the day, this is just a fun discussion. While there are some things that lead me to believe this could be a possibility, it obviously is going to be a big ask under any circumstance, and the likelihood is pretty low. With that said, it doesn't mean that I can't dream, and it doesn't mean that it's impossible. In fact, of all the games that have come out since Pokemon Gold and Silver, I believe that Pokemon Scarlet and Violet have the best chance of any game at being another multi-region title. So, for the sake of fun discussion, let's check out why. The first reason is because of the setting of these games themselves. The region of Scarlet and Violet is based on Spain and possibly the entire Iberian Peninsula, and that bodes very well as it relates to Kalos being a second explorable region, because France, Kalos' inspiration, is directly connected to Spain. Now, you could say that this was also the case with Galar in Pokemon Sword and Shield, since its basis, the UK, is also right next to France, but obviously nothing happened there. However, Scarlet and Violet's region is going to be in an even better position than even Galar was, assuming, of course, that these regions are all located in roughly the same place as their real-world counterparts. And this is because Spain is directly connected to France by land, instead of just being pretty close to it like Galar and the UK is, which ultimately makes the potential of being able to travel there all the more justifiable. In fact, this is going to mark the only other time outside of Kanto and Johto, where the two-region thing actually happened, where two regions are actually physically connected together by land. And so that right there gives Scarlet and Violet the best chance of this happening of any game already. This wouldn't be much of a discussion if that's all the evidence I had, though. In fact, there's even more similarities between Scarlet and Violet and Gold and Silver that can make you raise some eyebrows with regards to this idea. First off, while France and Spain, Kalos, and this new region are connected by land, France and Spain are separated on their borders by the Pyrenees mountain range, lying in northern Spain and southern France. This is exactly the same scenario as Kanto and Johto, as they are separated by Mount Silver, which runs down the middle of the two. Additionally, southern Kalos has always been a bit of an enigma, because we don't really get to see much of it, and it was the source of plenty of rumors during the X and Y days. On top of that, we can even see a rugged mountain range in southern Kalos on Kalos' map, which directly confirms that there is a mountain there in the Pokemon world. Meanwhile, going along with the theme of mountaineering in this Spain-based region is that in Pokemon Sword and Shield, there is a hiker on Route 6, which leads into Stow-N-Side, that actually speaks in Spanish and says that she came to Galar from far away, likely meaning that this was a bit of foreshadowing to the Scarlet and Violet region, as there are other hints to Scarlet and Violet in Sword and Shield as well. Whether her being a hiker has anything to do with the potential mountain range between Kalos and this new region, though, is a bit of wishful thinking, I will admit. But hey, it's not exactly inconsistent with the evidence either. Another thing worth bringing up is that, as I mentioned, the Pyrenees Mountains lie to the north of Spain, which would most likely equate with them being in a late game area, since in pretty much all Pokemon games, you start in the southern part of the region and work your way up. And that would be consistent with discovering Kalos towards the end of the main story, just like we discovered Kanto at the end of Gold and Silver. Further connecting Scarlet and Violet with Gold and Silver and their multi-region system is the fact that just like Gold and Silver, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are named after colors. Now, you might say that this is a loose connection at best, but it is worth noting, as I have mentioned in the past, that every Pokemon game that is named after a color has some kind of connection to Kanto, which obviously was the setting for the original games that were named after colors. In Gold and Silver, you of course go to Kanto, and the Black and White games are very much a soft reboot of Red and Blue. So, in just the same way that Gold and Silver's names are somewhat of an homage to Red and Blue, could Scarlet and Violet's name be an homage to Gold and Silver because of the multi-region connection? Maybe, maybe not, but it is something to consider. In the much more significant department, however, we have the fact that Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are confirmed to be fully open-world games. The argument against another multi-region game ever happening has always been that it would just be too big, especially in the modern era. Well, the whole point of an open-world game is that they are big. And while they certainly don't have to be Skyrim or Breath of the Wild level in terms of their size, they do need to be fairly sizable, and making Kalos a second explorable region that lies on the other side of the rugged Pyrenees Mountains would be the perfect way to make a game that is big enough to truly be open world. Obviously, the Spain-based region could be big enough to be open world on its own, and again, maybe that is the more likely case. But if that is the case, it would most likely make this region the biggest region that we've ever seen by a large margin, which makes the idea of bringing in a second region instead to account for the bigger game size a little more feasible in my opinion. Regardless of whether it does or does not happen, however, the fact that Scarlet and Violet are open world games absolutely makes multiple regions a possibility, and as I've been saying throughout the video, it is consistent with all of the other evidence I have presented. The last thing I want to mention within this discussion is the Kalos region itself. Kalos has often been discussed as the region and the games with the most left on the table, and the most unfinished as a result. While I wouldn't necessarily expect all of Kalos' loose ends to be tied up if it were to be an explorable region in Scarlet and Violet, its inherent incompleteness makes it the perfect candidate to be a second explorable region under any circumstance. With it maybe not being as fully fleshed out as other regions, it's the perfect type of region to bring in this scenario that is not going to be quite as overwhelming to implement. And once again, this is similar to Pokemon Gold and Silver. Many people often say the exact same things about Johto. They say it's incomplete and not a full region because the game was accounting for the Kanto side of things when Johto was created. Well, in that sense, Kalos and Johto are very similar, and with all of this in consideration, we might just be able to see history repeat itself, and maybe we could get another multi-region game in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Or at least I hope. It's probably pretty unlikely. Now, if you'll excuse me, I think I'm gonna go cry in a corner. So, that is my case for why Kalos could, and frankly should, be an explorable region in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. But what do you think about all this? Am I crazy? Is this definitely not happening? Or are you as hopeful as I am? Let me know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you're new for more Pokemon content. With that said, I will be back with another video very soon, and until then, as always, thank you all so much for watching, I love you all very, very much, and I will smell you guys later.